Hi everyone, it is time to colour this dear little apple house on this page from Magical Worlds by Johanna Basford, and we're using the Castle Arts Soft Touch pencils again. Don't worry, I'll be moving my book in a minute. Here we go, look at that. Who lives in this little house, do you think? Well, we're going to start by colouring the apple stem stalk, what we're going to call it, whatever, it doesn't matter, does it? I'm going to start with the raw umber. Now the raw umber is probably one of the browns that I've used the most because it's the only light brown that hasn't got a orangey tone to it. I'm just going to put a really light layer down here. And then I'm going to also use it for this door. Look at the wooden door. Now I'm only putting down my initial light layer. There's going to be a lot more, well, maybe not a lot more. It is only a small space after all. There will be more. I'm going to grab a different brown in a minute. There we go. I'm also thinking windowsills. They look a bit like window boxes, don't they? But I think we'll just colour them in wood and then they can be either. There we go. Now we might come back to that colour in a bit. We're going to grab the Van Dyck brown, which is a much darker shade, and start with our apple stem stalk, that'll do, and do the base. So who lives in an apple? A caterpillar? Little fairy, maybe. Someone very small, or is it a giant apple? I'm just going to put a bit of dark on the top here too. Maybe into there. Now with the door, I'm thinking we will have a bit of shadow above and below this piece here. And then maybe around the edge. Like that. Do you imagine there must be the tiny little carpenter who makes these little tiny doors that fit on these little tiny houses? I put a few lines on there. On these ones I'm just going to do a little bit on the edge and bottom where I think it might be a bit darker. There we go. That's it. And then I'm going to go back to my raw umber and just finish these bits off. The light is very odd today in here. It is, what time is it? 20 to 10, 9:30ish. The sky is quite white. It's thick with cloud. And so I've got my lamp on, it's making everything very yellow. But we were forecast fog this morning, which I was expecting because it is the 1st of November today, recording this video, and I thought we would hear more Diwali fireworks, but we didn't. I heard a few, but usually after there have been lots of fireworks in the area, that it can be very foggy the next morning. But there we go. I'm going to grab that dark colour again, the Van Dyck brown, and I'm going to do the window frame and the door frame with these. I think I'm just going to block it in because it's quite small. I do tend to like going around the edges with the darker, more intense colour, but there just isn't the space on these teeny tiny designs, so I'm just going to just block it in with a dark brown. There we go. Now the apple itself, we can do a little bit of red and a bit of green. I think it can look quite nice if we do it in a couple of colours. But I'm just seeing if we've got the right sort of red. Now when I do a red apple, I usually do a more slightly orangey red. I'm thinking maybe the Chinese orange is a better colour. I'm going to grab it. I've got to find it. There it is. Because it is quite dark. It is quite reddish. I'm just going to sharpen it. Oops, pencils go running around all over the desk. They were being held by my sharpener. And I'm just going to choose like a random area to put a bit of red, because apples aren't like, they're not red at the bottom or the top or whatever, it's just quite random. So we're going to have it, it's going to have some green on as well. So I'm just going to gently sort of fade this off now. Like, I know this needs to be darker where the stem is and that sort of thing. We'll do that later. There, so that's our sort of red area. Then down here I'm going to do darker green, and then I'm going to fade it into a lighter green to mix with that. I think that might work. We're going to do my favourites. We're going to start with the cadmium green, which is here. I do think this makes quite a good apple green. So I'm going to layer it up more down here. We're going to have a sort of diagonal transition across. So I will sort of fade it as I go up and across. And then we'll put in the cadmium green pale. And once we've done this sort of base colour, we'll add in some shadowy bits. I don't know whether to do a bit, I think I'm just going to do a bit here. Just a tad there. Like that. Then our cadmium green pale, which is here, and basically I think I'll start here. So would you like to live inside a fruit? I think it might be a bit sticky. It doesn't really appeal to me. It's quite a small house as well. I mean, I know obviously this creature's rather small because look at the size of the door, but they've only got 2 windows, 3 I suppose. So they've got a sitting room with the chimney, and maybe that's the kitchen as well, and then a bedroom and a bathroom. That's it. That's all they'd have room for, isn't it? It's not very big. I guess if you were living on your own that might be okay. They're sort of mixing the red and green together a little bit. They don't smush together, these pencils. That's not how the Castle Art Soft Touch work. But you can see the layers, and I think that's fine. I'm happy with that. That's how I know they're going. You know how I knew they would work. And I think it's okay for you to see that there's a red layer, a green layer. I think it looks okay. I don't want there to be, you know, necessarily a big transition, you know, because I don't think that looks like an apple would look. Now, we need some shadowy areas on our apple. So around the bottom, under the windowsills and things like that. What are we going to use with that? Well, we could use a black, a grey, but I think it might be better to use a more earthy colour similar to our apple. So we could use a dark green or a brown. Now I'm going to avoid brown because our windowsills are brown, so if we use brown it'll get lost. So I'm just having a little look at my greens, and I think the oxide of chrome might work as a shadowy colour. So here it is, oxide of chrome. It's also a slightly olivey colour which works with the greens that we've done already. So I want my apple to be darker down at the bottom. So I'm going to just, where Johanna's drawn these little spots, dots, and also on the side a little bit, because if it's a bit darker on the side it looks a little bit more rounded, less flat. And we're going to do the same on this side. So down at the bottom, I know we used our lighter green here, but we can just gently fade this in, scumble it out with the round and round movement. Just go slowly. I'm probably going a bit too fast. Now here we've got our red section. We're going to put a bit of this green on top, just on the edge. Scumble it through. If your red section ends up being a bit smaller than you'd hoped, you can always add a bit more on top of this green in here. Now here we want a bit of shadow there and there where this dips in. I'm just going to take my dark green up the edge of here a little bit more, like that. Then we just want a little line under the windowsill or window box, doesn't matter what it is. And then under our big window, round window. Yeah, around the steps a bit. Okay, and I'm going to use this darker colour for part of the leaf. I'm thinking maybe here in the centre, and then sort of fade it out a bit here, like that. And then I'm going to use my cadmium green, which is here, to just go over and around the rest of my leaf. And I'm just going to leave the tip and use the cadmium green pale for the very edge. I know I've done the leaf the same colour as the actual apple, but I'm just going to run another colour over the top of it in a second, and it will make it look slightly different. We're going to use the just choosing the cadmium yellow light. Here it is. Now it's quite blunt, and that's fine because I just want a light layer, just particularly on the top here of the leaf, just to make it look a bit brighter, and then it sort of separates it away from the apple. Okay, now I'm just looking at this chimney and I'm thinking I'd quite like to match it in with the colours we've got, but of course it wouldn't, because it would probably be metal, not wood. You can have a wooden chimney, it'd be bonkers if you had a wooden chimney. I'm also looking at these windows. I'm just going to grab my Van Dyck brown. Now I did this on another picture. I think it was, yeah, it was the potty. And around the edge of each window, I'm just going to put a little imaginary window frame, because I found this helped it look more like the curtains were inside. Because when I looked, oh, it's quite thick. Because when I look at this one, it looks to me like the curtains are on the outside of the apple, whereas by putting a little frame around it makes me feel that they're inside. You don't have to do this if you are happy with how it is without it, but I somehow just feel it gives it that frame around. Right, now inside our windows, I think I'm going to go with quite a browny, what have we got? Cadmium yellow deep for the light. Nearly dropped it. There it is, cadmium yellow deep. I'm trying to think about what colour to do this, you see. I think I might do it in a sort of goldish colour, but I'm not sure. Would you have a gold chimney? Probably not. So I'm just going to block this in, and this one, and then a bit, leave a bit of white maybe if you want to in that centre one. I think we'll do the doorstep and the rocks, and then we'll get to thinking about that chimney. What should we do? We'll do a few different greys. I would do browns if I had more pale beige type colours, but I don't. So we're going to do, it will be very similar to yesterday's one grey light, except maybe we'll do a slightly different technique. So we'll do a light across the steps, like that. Now on the rocks, instead of just on yesterday's, I'm pointing at it, can't see, we did the bottom and we faded towards the top. On today's rocks, we'll go around the edge and we'll make them lighter in the middle. It'll just be a little bit different. You could also just do it really bumpy, you know, make your light and dark patches varied all over the place. It's quite hard to see with that really pale colour anyway. But we'll go with that once we get our Davy's grey in here. We'll be able to see a bit better. But I think I'm just going to go around the edge and fade to the centre a bit. Fill in the gaps between them. I don't know why. I can hear a noise. I can always hear noises, but it sounds like there's a noise in the road. Charcoal grey. Maybe they're fixing their sinkhole. Maybe. Can't believe how many sinkholes there are around the area at the moment. But we've had a lot of rain, and I guess it's just been running underneath and taking away the road. But still, at least they've discovered them. Now we need to do the steps before they've eaten up anything, and at least they're in the road, so it's better than being under a house, isn't it? Right, so we're going to just sort of fade that up, so a bit down here, oops, and just sort of scumble up a bit. It's got a bit of a surface on your step. Now I'm going to make the curtains and this little cloth match because I think that's fun. But let's do the chimney. Let's do it in a silvery colour. I'm going to use the Cool Grey Deep, and I need to sharpen this blunt. So at the bottom here, a few more layers, and then reduce, less layers, lighter touch till you get to the top. I'm just going to put a little bit at the top, but not too much, so that my lightest bit is just there. Now with this bit, I think I'll just make a lighter bit somewhere in the middle. The idea is just to make it look like it's a little bit shiny, as if it's metallic. And then a bit here. Here, and I want that central bit to be a bit lighter, so I'm just going to gently build up my colour, but just lightly in that middle part. There we go. Now cloth and curtains, I'm thinking what colours? Well, we've got our very earthy colours. We've got this sort of Chinese orange, we've got our greens and things, I like that, and browns. I don't want to go with any of those colours, but I don't want to go too far away from them either, so we could go oranges, or we could go sort of reds, but we don't have any orangey reds, to be fair. We could use a red ochre, I suppose, but it's quite bright for a curtain, isn't it? My curtains are terracotta. It's quite funny, the story of my curtains. I am going to do them terracotta while I tell the terracotta curtain story. In my lounge diner, I'm going to put it on really lightly first, just a light layer to get me going. In my lounge diner, it used to be painted terracotta, and it was I felt it was very old-fashioned when I moved in, and eventually I stripped off the wallpaper. It was painted wallpaper. We're going to put some darker areas in, following the sort of lines that Johanna's drawn and the edges of the curtains. And anyway, so we didn't decorate immediately, we didn't decorate everywhere. It was in good condition, so we just left it. And I was always like, ugh, not very keen on this, yeah, it's not very me. So we, when we decorated, we kept everything quite neutral. We did this sort of, oh, that's an interesting noise. Anyway, sorry, sounds like a traction engine going by or something. Anyway, so we, on this cloth, I'm going to do, now, last time I tried to do a patchworky thing and it all went wrong. Maybe I'll do some random squares. So we painted in the sort of, I'm going to try doing a pattern and see if it works, a buttermilk colour, so it was very pale walls, so slightly warm, but not, because the room is quite dark. And then we went out to buy some new curtains, and guess what colour curtains we bought? Terracotta. So we took away the terracotta paint. Actually, this is working, isn't it? And bought some terracotta curtains. They've got gold thread in them, not proper expensive, just normal, just cheap gold thread in them as well. I think I want a really pale colour. I quite like the white, but I don't think I'm going to leave it white, but thinking maybe the coral. It's a very old noise. It's sort of like a tinny, rattly thing. I don't know what it is. Coral. But there's lots of work going on up on the main road. There's I'm just going to do it quite lightly. There's the sinkhole, which we're hoping is being fixed, but there often isn't anyone there doing anything. I don't know whether they need some specialist equipment or whatever. I mean, they've been surveying it and trying to work out what to do. And there is a building which is having a new roof put on, and they're making quite a lot of noise too. Right, I'm going to leave that there. I'm sounding uncertain because I'm not sure. I could put a bit of yellow on top of here to sort of help blend the red in, but actually I'm going to leave it like that. I quite like it like that. Now, I haven't done the door handle. I heard you all cry. No, I didn't really. I'm going to do it in the cadmium yellow deep. Try and make it look like it's gold. Why not? It won't. It'll just look yellow. There we go. You could put some, I think I will, put a bit of white on the windows to make them look a bit more glassy. So like I have done before, a sort of diagonal line. Keep it inside the frame, so don't go over that window box. Put on some of those, it won't show up on the yellow. Try and go through the black line and then it shows up more. I don't even know if you can see. You probably can't, but I know it's there. So there we go. There is our apple house. I love the apple. It's just so cute. I'm so pleased I haven't ruined it. Oh dear. Right, so there we go for today. Our little caterpillar, or whatever it is that lives there, or fairy, has a nice, colourful, welcoming home. So thank you for watching today. I hope that you have a really lovely day, and hopefully you'll pop back tomorrow or later for another video. But for now, thank you and happy colouring.